Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN. This is where we sit with journalists across the world and we try to understand all that they go through as part of their craft. One of the things journalism doesn't encourage is for us to tell our own experiences when reporting, because the news consumers are not interested in what we go through. All that they need is the story. Today, I've been joined by a senior colleague from the United States. He is a broadcast journalist and a bilingual football commentator. His 2-decade-long career has produced to his credit 3 World Cups, 4 Copa Americas, 5 Gold Cups, and various leagues around the world, from La Liga to the Colombian League, from the Bundesliga to Liga MX, from CONCACAF, Champions League to Euro League, from Serie A to the Chilean League. He has run commentary as well as been an analyst for various clients abroad and in the United States. Besides his works in journalism, he is an adjunct professor of Barry University, Miami, Florida, in the United States. Juan Arango is my guest today. Welcome, bro.
Hey, how are you? How's it going, Stephen? How's everything over in your part of the world?
Well, we are trying. We are trying to keep on. You know, it's not been easy, but we are keeping on. And your end?
It's warm. It's hot. It's summer. It's Miami. It's always like this.
That's
That's the only consistent I can tell you. But as far as everything else, it's always an adventure. It's always something interesting. It's always something new you learn. So you take it as such and enjoy the ride.
But let me find out from you, at what point while growing up did you realize that journalism is what you wanted to do?
Look, for starters, I didn't go to school for journalism.
Okay.
I can never tell you. Sometimes when people say it's like, well, man, do I really? I don't know. You have that to this day. I'm telling you, you have that. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, but it's kind of like that. Well, I never meant to be it, but it ended up being that way.
Okay.
So when you said it right now, I'm like, so I don't. It's difficult, but at the same time, now that I'm teaching, I tell them, look, you do not have to be in order to become. You can go into it. How I started doing it, I was actually in school in Argentina. I went study abroad, and because I knew English, they're like, well, would you like to do some? Would you be able to do some write-ups for us in English for some games down here? I said, sure. A couple of bucks, coming my way. And it bit me a little bit. I liked it. Then about a year or so later, a network opens up, and they're looking for people that know about football. So I went to and I started working there on a more production basis.
Okay.
And then one day, all of a sudden, I have equipment. We're going to the stadium because I forgot, it was Venezuela, excuse me, the national team. And of course, there's a huge Venezuelan population here in South Florida. We go to the stadium, or I was going to go to the stadium, and had all the equipment, the camera, the cables, everything, about to go and put it in my producer's car. So like, it was a 3-man crew that was going to go. And all of a sudden the head of the network says, hey, by the way, you're not going anywhere. You're about to go into a booth. So why? What happened? What do I have to go into the booth for? I'm about to leave.
Wow.
You're on air in 5 minutes.
Wow.
On air where?
No preparation.
I was like, no, I didn't know. I had no idea. Never. No. We need you to go and do a co-commentary on the game. Okay, how do you do that?
Wow.
I had no idea. So I went down the stairs, went into the studio. The commentator's there. The co-commentator never arrived, or I don't remember the exact story there. But well, nevertheless, he did not arrive. So I sit down, I say, okay, what are we doing? What are we supposed to be doing here? Now you put yourself in his position.
That's right.
And somebody comes in and does that. You're 5 minutes to air. The person you're supposed to be doing a game with doesn't show up. The person that does asks you, okay, what are we supposed to do?
Oh.
you know, okay, well, we're doing this game. What game? What game are we doing? Who's playing? I had no idea. I mean, I don't even come in with I had nothing. The guy brings me in, sit down, do it. Man, you know, it's frustrating. For him
Yes.
at least. And I can promise you, if I could ever find that game, it's probably one of the worst games that was ever co-commentated in the history of humanity. It definitely was. But all that being said, I said, hey, I like this. I could do this. I could see myself doing this. And I guess whoever saw me said, hey, you know what? It wasn't that bad. Let's give him another try. And then they gave me another try and another try and another try. And then, of course, that eventually ended up in me a few years later down the road being able to have a chance to be a commentator and start doing the game. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was horrible at it, but I loved doing it. And that's where it all started. And of course, I started doing writing, I started doing radio, I started doing podcasts, and it kind of developed after that.
Is that first experience in commentary your most challenging assignment ever, or there is something else?
No, in terms of my profession, or in
Yes,
terms
in terms
me?
of your profession, in terms of running football commentaries, would that stand out as your most challenging assignment, or there are others?
No, no. I mean, they all had their level of difficulty, and you know, going and writing scripts at one time was a challenge. Going in and doing commentary in Spanish at one time was a challenge because it's a different cadence, it's a different rhythm compared to how you do it in English on television. You know, doing Spanish on radio is completely different than English on television. Doing English on television is completely different than Spanish on television, that type of thing. Script writing was difficult because I had to learn how to tell a story. So then the improvement or acquisition of the craft of storytelling also had to come in. Learning a different language. I mean, for commentary, I mean, I'm going on learning my fourth language now. I'm going and learning Italian.
Wow.
And that to me also, it's the skills that you have to acquire in order to be able to apply your craft. I think the big challenge. Okay, in order for me to be able to be able to do commentary better, what do I need to do? Okay, for example, I went when I went to cover the World Cup in Brazil, I had to learn Portuguese, or I wanted to, because I wanted to go and I wasn't going to go with a group of people. I went by myself. So I had to know Portuguese in order to be able to get around Brazil. I had to know Portuguese in order to be able to interview players, because a lot of times I was going to Granja Comari, which is the complex where the Brazilian national team was training and still trains to this day in Brazil. So when it's the acquisition of those skills that ends up being the challenge, it's not necessarily the aspect of it, the commentary itself.
Are there any players in football that you would personally love to interview one-on-one?
Players? Well, I mean, no, not really. I mean, if I ever got to interview Sadio Mane, I think he's a very compelling character. He's a very compelling person with a great story. I think someone like that. To me, it's. I mean, I've never been awestruck by players or by managers, anyone like that. I really have never been awestruck over them. I mean, I've already interviewed Leo Messi. I've already interviewed Cristiano Ronaldo. I've done that, and you know, they seem very normal to me. I mean, Messi's story was very particular because it was at an event. He had an all-star game here. God, when was it? I think it was, I want to say 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, and people, there was an official announcement. Maybe about 10, 15 people arrived, 15, 20 people arrived. And then a couple others, you know, slowly gathering around. And it was Diego Forlan, Dunga, Cavani, many of the others. I'm trying to remember who else.
Superstars.
Forlan. Yeah, it was like Messi and friends or something like that. And people, okay, fine. And all of a sudden they go, well, if you hang around a couple of minutes, Leo will probably be here. All of a sudden, in the span of 15 minutes, it went from like 20, 30 people to like 200, 300. On top of, I'm only talking about the people that were able to go into that room in the hotel. All of a sudden, there were probably about, I could probably tell you there's about 200, 300 people inside that room, and then about another 500 waiting outside, and maybe another 200 waiting in the parking lot. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Messi comes out, you know, how he's usually, his usual street clothes, his usual look. And all of a sudden, and I'm standing there, I'm you know, setting my mic on the table because he was going to come. Cool. And all of a sudden, everybody just fall. You know, all of that, I had like 50 people on top of me. My head's like this. And all of a sudden, he's like this. We're looking at each other. He's like, having a good day, huh? He's like, look like you're having fun. All right. I'm like, yeah, man, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, you know, so I was able to talk to him for like about 5-10 minutes. It was, you know, it just, that type of thing. And to me, they're people like you and me that have been able to overcome great odds and be able to come through in such a way that, of course, they've been successful at what they were able to do. To me, I mean, there's people that I wish I would have been able to interview in my lifetime, or even not even interview, maybe even like shake their hand, and maybe those, you know, I don't know, the one that right now, the one that comes to mind would be like a Nelson Mandela. I wish I would have been able to just say hello to him, you know, that type of thing. Those are the people that keep me awestruck, that get me awestruck. As far as players, no, not really.
How has social media changed the practice of journalism? Social media.
It's a vital tool, but like any other tool, it can become a weapon. And again, you might be asking the best and the worst person. That's right. In terms of that. And that, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the only one, but I like, to be honest with you, people like yourself, people like many others wouldn't know what I do if it weren't for that.
Yes.
But people also don't like what one says because of it. And now the intention is not to be disliked, it's to be able to say, hey, this is what's going on, this is the truth behind this. And at times when you go and sometimes on social media tell the, I mean, we know what's going on with everything, the pseudo journalism and fake news and everything else that's been going on. That's what I talk about, that it can be a weapon, and it's been weaponized on a lot of occasions. But when you go and you tell the truth, sometimes it makes you a very divisive individual.
That's true.
You know, just the other day, I asked a sincere question. I went and I said, hey, look, and this is a problem. This is a problem here in the United States when it comes to football, and it's not talked about very often. How many Black commentators are there? One.
Wow.
One.
That's not good enough.
No. You from the outside, what do you think?
I have no idea.
Seeing it from the, I mean, and that's fine. And that's fine that you don't, part of what I'm supposed to be doing when I give an opinion like that is to, hey, by the way, in a country of 300 million people, where the sport is the fastest growing sport, why is it the fastest growing sport? Well, it's the fastest growing sport because of A, B, C, and D. But also what people don't tell you is that it's a very middle class sport, where people in the middle class are the ones that can basically afford to be able to play at a high level, because to be able to have entry into this, you have to pay to play. You have to be, and who are the ones? Well, certain class, and who is part of that class? This group of people. When you go into the journalistic aspect, many of those are part of that group. So when you start looking at it, minorities are left aside in the journalistic aspect here in the United States. So then you ask the question, how many Black commentators out there? And you go and say, hey, one out of hundreds and hundreds of football commentators that are here in the US, good, bad, and everything in between. We have one. That's a problem. I'm not talking about co-commentator. Co-commentator, there's many former players, et cetera, but commentator, one that was not a journalist, or excuse me, one that was not a football player, one that was a journalist, one that came through, one that's been on television, one that's been doing, there's only one. Now, when you start being told that, maybe, oh, really? I did not know that. But when you start asking that, well, define the position of, like, what is that? We're talking define the position. Well, define the area of the country. Well, define, no, I don't have to define this. I'm telling you exactly, there's one. So then all of a sudden, oh, but you're trying to do this, so that's where social media ends up being the good thing and the bad thing. When you try to inform, it's a good thing. It's a tool. When I go and prepare for a match, I use social media to find out what's the latest goings on. For example, I do Boca and Banfield for the Argentine League today for the World Feed. And I have to look at what's happening with the teams. So I go to social media, I look, and I see the people that follow and cover the teams, the websites that cover the teams, the formations, the changes. I go to social media. But then along the way, you're starting to look for information and you start to see all these things. Oh, so-and-so's coming. Cavani, said that his wife was wearing a Boca jersey and she liked the feel of it. That type of thing. That's not good. Of course, we can go into the political aspect of it, but that's a whole different issue that I don't want to get into. But Cavani liked the way that Boca's jersey looked on him, so that's why he's signing. I heard from so and so, a very trustworthy source that so and so is going to play in Ghana, whatever. Luis Suarez isn't going to River; he's going to go play in Ghana. That type of thing. So you're like, what? So that. It's helped in order to inform, but it's also helped a lot in order to confuse. What one as an individual has to define is, okay, what side of that fence am I going to be on? And trying to avoid confusing people when it comes to inform, because obviously your purpose, my purpose isn't to confuse. It's to inform as best as possible. But we are human beings and we tend to get confused as well.
How many continents have you been to in the line of duty?
4. Actually, no. Wait, hold on. Well, it depends on how you define geography. And I say that because in the United States, we, if you talk about South America, if you talk about pretty much North America to South America, depending on where you learn geography, is 1, 2. So I'll say 2. Right. 3, as far as work is concerned. 3.
Okay. Have you been to Africa? Has your work brought you to Africa?
Are you inviting me? I'd love to. You know what? I'd love to. No, I'm serious. Wow. I'd love to. I do commentary alongside Nigel Real Coker.
Okay.
Very good friend of mine, very dear friend of mine. We become friends due to work. And, he's told me about, obviously he was born in England, but his heritage, his background is from Sierra Leone. Okay. And he's told me wonders about it. And I know I follow a lot of journalists from Africa, and to me, it's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful continent. It's a wonderful life experience on top of journalistic experience, to be able to understand more, to be able to inform more. Now, here. The reason why I say that is part because of my experience journalistically.
Okay.
When you deal with a lot of media in this part of the world, when you get to a World Cup, you always hear the same things.
Yeah.
African team, undisciplined, lacking tactical wherewithal or tactical intelligence, very innocent. I'm like, wait a second. These guys, outside of South America, Africa is the continent that exports the most amount of footballers. Africa is probably the most, this time, and you know what? This time around, the most difficult region in the world to qualify out of, I'm talking about this World Cup qualifying cycle, was Africa.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it because I'm here with you. I'm saying it because I said it back in November. I'll say,
No,
damn,
but
Africa.
you are
You
right,
go
because two of the giants in Africa, Ghana and Nigeria, had to go into a playoff before one qualified.
Mm-hmm. Egypt too.
Exactly, Egypt
Egypt
too.
too.
You're right.
You know, a lot of them. A lot of Egypt's not in the World Cup. Nigeria's not in the World Cup. Do I claim myself to be an expert? No, I'm not. But there's more to it than trying to simplify things. Well, they're just not tactically disciplined. Nah, they just don't know how to win games. No, there's a lot more to it than that. I would love to see European teams go to Accra to go play in the World Cup qualifying. I'd love to see that. I got a lot of heat from people, especially in Europe. Don't make that little hour flight from Belgium to, I don't know, to Italy. Go fly to Lagos. Go fly to Accra. Go to Cameroon and play a World Cup qualifier. See what's up. Try and qualify out of Europe. See how difficult it is. Go play a return leg. You know, I mean, same thing in South America. I'm not saying that only Africa, but try and play in those areas.
Yes.
You know, you're gonna shit your pants when you go and you start to see fans out in the streets supporting and just being, it's basically borderline a national holiday when the national team plays because they're playing against you.
Exactly.
So go and see how that is, and tell me if well, because Europe is better. Yeah, but European national teams don't have to travel as much. It's much easier to qualify out of Europe than it is out of Africa by a lot. It's hot, it's cold, it's warm, it's humid, it's dry, it's barren, it's unbearably hot. The different types of grass, the different types of surfaces. In one area the ball doesn't bounce a lot, because of the humidity, because of it raining, depending on the time of the year. Depending if it's dry, it's going to just like a rubber ball, it's going to bounce straight up in the air. And on top of that, you get to the airport, you have to drive here, you have to go there. Mind you, I'm not saying that I went through it. I have had dear friends of mine that have coached. I mean, one of the people I talk to a lot is Rolo Zapata. He's a very good friend of mine. And he'd tell me how difficult it was, not just to play, but to organize the team, to make sure that the team was comfortable, to make sure that the team had what they needed in order to be able to play. I want to see European teams go through that adversity in order to even get to a World Cup. Now, I'm not saying that they should go through the exact same thing. I'm saying that, hey, you know what? Understand what others go through in order to compare what France or Italy or Spain or Germany have to go through, because they don't. Seeing how what African teams have to go through, and mind you, I went back in 2014. I was in Vitoria covering Cameroon, and they found themselves in the midst of a dispute in terms of, it's something that's very common in African football, unfortunately. It's, well, are we getting paid? What are our bonuses? What, you negotiating with the FA. That ends up being the problem. And I like to be able to communicate that a little bit more.
You've done some 20 years, am I right, in journalism and football commentary? Yes. Now, if we are to roll back time, some 25 years, are you going to choose the same career path?
Yeah, I would. Oh yeah. And here's why. When I get together with my family, my brother-in-law always tells me, oh man, I earn this, I earn that. When I do this, I earn $175 an hour. I earn $280 an hour doing this and this and that. Da, 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 da. And then I go and say, but you know what? You do my job in a heartbeat. And he stops, and immediately it's quiet. He stops and he says, you're damn right. and he's like, yeah, I would much rather do your job. Now, understand where I come from. Okay. My father was a mechanic, heavy duty mechanic, out in the sun, out in the rain, out in the snow, out in, whatever it was. He was out there under those truck, under those heavy, it's the equipment that would, you do to do construction, street construction,
Yeah.
digging up, trenches, dredging up, that type of thing. He did that for a living, for many years. He worked 70, 75, maybe 80 hours a week. And then after that, he'd go and go fix cars
Wow.
in on his own. People would call him, hey, by the way, and he'd go do that. I would go and help them, go and help him on weekends sometimes to kind of help him out. I mean, whatever I knew, what little I knew, but seeing that and seeing what he went through, first thing I said is I never want to be that. I never wanted to do that. And when I had the opportunity to do this, hey, because with me, it wasn't about being rich or being famous or anything. It was about doing what I wanted to do, doing what I enjoyed doing more than anything else. And fortunately, it's been able to give me a lot when it comes to my family. It helped my daughter go through school, or it's helped my daughter go through school. It's helped me put a roof over my head and put food on the table and be able to do those types of things and not have to endure what my father went through. And it's good to see that, because it does see that there's an improvement from one generation to the next. Now, I have my daughter finishing, at the university level, and she's only 19. So wow. she's about to finish in about a year or so. And then now I'm looking at, hey, she might go to do, art school outside of the United States. And for me, that's, wow, you look at this, look at where I was and look at where I'm at. Not at just from a professional standpoint. I'm not doing it to brag or to say that I'm great. Yeah. It's just that me, myself, I see that I was here professionally, personally, but the work that I put in and what my profession has offered me has helped me become a better person, become a better journalist, become a better professional, become a better father, better husband, more cultured as an individual in every sense of the way.
So with all this analysis, would you say journalism pays? Does it pay?
No. You have to, yes and no. You see, I believe that I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate, but I've also worked a lot. I've worked a lot. You have to pay a lot of dues. You have to pay a lot. I'll say it because 3 years ago, I didn't know where I was going to get my next paycheck from. I get hired, and then a year and a half ago, I didn't know where I was going to get my next paycheck because I was laid off due to the pandemic. Back in 2010, I didn't know where I was going to get my next paycheck from because I moved from Connecticut back to Miami. My mom was dying. She'd been diagnosed with cancer, and I had no job. I didn't have a job for a year and a half almost. And I was doing pizza delivery. So, unfortunately, I ended up getting a call at Gold TV one day, and that's when my career starts taking off. I have many friends that were on top of the world, 2-3 years ago. They had great jobs. They lived in nice houses. They had a very steady job. Boop, it closed down. I'm talking about journalists that were on television. I would see them. I knew them from television. I have a personal friendship with many of them that they said, well, by the way, after Copa America in 2019, this network is no more. Or we're making cuts to actually radio network. I shouldn't say TV network. They're all without a job. Now many are doing Uber. They're doing so that it's very fleeting. Yeah. That's why I say it pays and it doesn't, because when it does, and you're in a position where you can get paid, you're going to get paid. But when you don't, I have people that haven't worked in 2 years, and it kills me because they're tremendous professionals. Sometimes I even think they're better than me, much better than me, and I don't think it's fair. And to see that, it's completely heartbreaking because some have been evicted from their houses. because they don't have a way to pay anymore. Any type of pension, any type of severance has already been expired, but they haven't been able to find work anywhere. So it pays. And sometimes it pays, but you have to pay a tremendous price in order to be able to do it. My wife has been along for the ride. So she's been through now, and of course, she's been through times where we didn't have enough to even furnish our apartment. We had a bed and we had a little mattress where my daughter, she didn't have a crib, my daughter. She had a mattress on the ground.
Oh.
So when you start looking at from that perspective, you end up being very grounded when it comes to saying, hey, I'm here, but at any moment, I can fall. Or if I'm here, I know that it takes just one moment to be back up. So you kind of feel grounded to a certain extent, but always with a great sense of gratitude.
With this analysis you've just given me, would you say journalism is an attractive profession in the United States?
That is a great question. No. And I'll tell you why. I mean, sports journalism, I would say no, because you have to compete not only with other people, but with a lot of preferences, a lot of political issues. And I'm not talking about political as far as political parties. I'm talking about political as groups within the profession. You have to deal with people that don't want to pay or pay as much. You have to deal with people, you have to deal with situations in which you will never be considered because you're not part of. It's a profession that's very filled with nepotism. It's a profession that's filled with a lot of cronyism. It's a profession where there's certain things you cannot say or ask. Part of the reason why we have a problem in this country right now is due to media. And I work in it, and I'm saying this. But the way you see certain things covered in football, the way you see certain things covered, football is a reflection of a country. Football is a reflection of a country in whatever country you go into. If you see their national team and the influx or the success that they're having, it's a reflection of the country's successes and influxes and complications. With the US, you have something that you cannot be critical of certain things. You cannot be critical of the establishment. You cannot be critical of certain aspects of the game, because then you end up being kind of defenestrated to it. You're kind of isolated and ostracized if you start criticizing the national team or the leagues or anything that is along those lines. You're not saying it like, oh, Steven is a mafia boss. You know what I'm saying? No, nothing like that. No accusations like that. Saying Steven is having a problem being able to administrate properly. He's prioritizing the financial aspect over the competitive aspect. There's certain things that aren't being done. There's a lot of groups that are being ostracized because of financial aspects when he's running this. Are you saying that, you're not saying, oh, he's a thief, he's a crook? No, those are easy things to say. But when you start saying, hey, they're not doing this, and you point it out, there's certain people that don't like you to point it out. There's certain things that you can't say in terms of the league here. It's like, well, there's certain things defensively when they're marking, they don't like when you say that. Oh, because to them, it means that you're saying that they're no good. You're not saying that they're good. You're just not saying that they're the Premier League. You're not saying that they're La Liga. They have their function. I'd say, hey, there's no league outside of the Premier League. The second best league that markets itself is Major League Soccer. And that's the best thing that Major League Soccer has. It's marketing. It markets itself very well to be something that it isn't. Now, is it a bad league? No, it's a very good league. It's just not what they want people to think that they are. When you say that, you end up being, well, no, we don't want you around. The U.S. national team. Look, let me be complete. There was a discussion on social media, at least by people, saying that Weston McKennie was better than Paul Pogba. There were people on Twitter back this 2016, 2017 that were comparing Christian Pulisic to Leo Messi. And if you don't go along with that, then you're going, oh, you're anti, you're not a patriot, you're not American. And I can go into other issues in terms of that, but I'd rather not. So when you say that, no, you're not. There were people that were saying, hey, you know what? The U.S. has a great chance to win the World Cup in 2022. Look, it could happen. The odds aren't good, but I'm not going to go and start, waving the flag around and that ends up being, you have a lot of flag waving in this country when it comes to media coverage. And politics is treated like sports and sports is treated like politics. And when that kind of gets inverted, then we have a problem journalistically, because that's how politics is treated in the US. It's treated like a reality show. Well, it's treated like a game. Well, they lost it. No, the government ends up voting against a certain regulation. It's not that, oh, we come back next week and play again. No, you end up having consequences long-term, 20, 30 years from now for children, grandchildren, etc. A football match, if the U.S. wins a World Cup, great. We still have to go to work on Monday, but it doesn't mean anything. Next week, football will start again. Yes, yeah, great. We got to, my team wins tomorrow. I have to go to work again. But if the government is being treated in such a manner if government is being treated like a football team, then we're not going to get anything done from that aspect. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in journalism, media here in the U.S. has become that, because no longer are media people involved at the highest levels. It's more investment corporations and venture capitalists that are involved in the media aspect of it all.
Are you retiring anytime soon?
Damn, are you already trying to retire me? I'm only 45. What are you talking about? Damn. No. You know what? I remember. No, and I mean, you make it sound like, oh, damn, if it's that bad, why don't you just retire? I understand. Would I like to? I would like to go in and maybe not retire, but maybe change my direction professionally at some point and just start writing and just start traveling and just start, living abroad. Well, actually, I'll ask you, what place in Africa would you say, hey, this is a place where you should go retire?
Well, there are a lot of interesting places in Ghana.
Well, tell me. I've heard Rwanda being one. I don't know. I'm asking out of complete and utter ignorance.
Rwanda is fantastic.
Yeah.
South Africa also has fantastic places you can visit all year long. Ghana has so many of them. You go to Togo, there are lots. You go to Senegal. Africa is blessed with so many fantastic places.
But you're absolutely right. I just ask you because I don't know. I mean, the one that always has been told is South. And if there's one regret I have is not going to the World Cup in 2010. I just didn't have work. Yeah. And I was accredited to go to the World Cup in 2010. And I was going. I looked to stay in South Africa for a month, but I just didn't. I wasn't able to. It was impossible. But like I said, that's what I'd like to do. Hey, I don't know, go to Rwanda, for a month and be there and enjoy there. I mean, I'd love to, but again, maybe not retire.
You'll come back with memories you want to repeat over and over and over again.
Yeah. And like that. I maybe not retire, but maybe go and just enjoy and go and tell stories and go and say, hey, this is what it is. Because one thing I do know is that there's a lot to be enjoyed of over there. Like I said, I've never been there. Yeah. I'm just saying it on hearsay. I see it because I've been a lot on radio in Ghana. Yeah. I've done stuff with Gary L. Smith and many others there. Yeah. Yeah. So I've done a lot of stuff, and they've told me wonderful things about Africa in general. And I don't want to just in this case, of course, Ghana, they've told me wonderful things about, just like I've heard about Cameroon and Nigeria and everything else. But to me, that would be important for me to go and say, hey, look, I'm here. Everything's great. There's a lot of good things. There's a lot of bad things. But then there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things here, which I the other day mentioned. Hey, by the way, it's, what was it? Here yesterday, or the other day in South Florida, it was 47 degrees.
Wow.
But yet
In
we're going to have
summer.
games during. Yeah, but yet we were going to have a World Cup here in summer. Nobody's talking about that. You should look at the temperatures today in all of the United States, and then you ask yourself, okay, but why is it? I mean, I understand why they wouldn't have a World Cup in Qatar in summer. I get that, but then if that's the case, then why are we having one in the United States? Because it's almost the same temperature.
Mm. But Qatar is providing stadia that are fully air conditioned.
So do we. So do we. Los Angeles, for example, the stadium that they're going to play. Do you know how much that stadium costs? I think something like 5.6 billion. Billion.
What's the capacity?
It depends. It depends.
Well, is it expandable?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
But I think if they play it for the thing is that they have to expand the pitch a little bit more because obviously an American football pitch is a little bit more narrow.
Yeah.
So they'd have to expand it. I think that's where the attendance ends up dropping a little bit. Okay. Maybe 80, maybe 90. And of course that stadium was dredged underground or was built underground basically, because if not the height that it actually has, it would end up having complications for airplanes flying into LA International Airport. So that's why they had to put it underground basically. If you see it from far away, you don't think much of it. But once you get there and you see the size of it, you absolutely are just, you're awestruck at this colossus. So, I mean, yeah, you say, yeah, here in the US too. I mean, many of the stadiums here are very modern, but again, and that's going to be closed. That's a closed roof. Now, the question is the weather.
That's right.
How are you going to play in places like Miami during the day? You're going to play at night, and at night ain't that much comfortable either. So, and go do that exercise the next couple of days. Start checking out how the weather at all the World Cup venues during summer, and start asking yourself, okay, how? Nobody talks about that because it's not. Again, it's something that's not. And I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy. I'm not, but it's questions. Hey, wait a second. It's hot. I go here and I open the door to my house, and the humidity. It seems like it just smacks you in the face in the morning. Imagine at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon when games will be played, maybe later on. That's just a question I ask many people abroad.
Juan Arango has been my guest today on PENSDOWN. We have looked at his journalism journey. He's a man with a heart and passion for football. He loves to talk it. He loves to follow it. He sleeps it and eats it, and maybe he's even in the glass or the cup he's drinking from. Football is what he does. And for him, football is his passion. He came into journalism and found a place in football commentary. He's building a reputation in it with 2 different languages, English and Spanish. Fantastic commentator. Juan, thanks a lot for joining me today.
No, quite the opposite. Thank you for having me. It's been great, and I truly enjoy. Now I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep you to your promise. You said you were gonna invite me to Africa, so I'm waiting. Okay.
Sure. I will. I will.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Join us next time
you.
when we invite another colleague here to talk about their journalism journey. This has been PENSDOWN. Bye for now.